grounded, he will.
It's the Skinny on Sports Podcast with Aaron Cowk.
I throw balls far. You want good words? Data language.
Talk real sports with a real man.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
And now, here's the be-all, end-all, know-it-all of high school, college, and pro sports. Aaron Skinny Cowk with the Skinny on Sports.
We're talking about practice, man. I'm the MVP.
And a good Thursday morning out there, Western Oklahoma. Welcome to the Skinny on Sports, 98.1 FM. The Sports Animal. It is draft day. The day a lot of these guys have been looking forward to their entire lives. Fans, this is an eternal day of optimism. Unless you're about 8 different franchises, a fan of 8 different franchises that always screw it up. Looking at you, Raider fan, Jet fan, although the Jets were pretty good last year. You know, there's just those handful or so of teams that you can always count on making the wrong pick, and you hope that you're right behind them. That way you get the right one. Have a question on the text line since it's draft day. I'm letting everybody listening, Jared, you, me, we're the GM and the decision maker of the Carolina Panthers. Who do you take tonight with the number 1 overall pick? We'll talk about that toward the end of the show. Give everybody a chance to weigh in. 225-9698. That's the text line.
It's Vontae Mack no matter what, right?
Well, I mean, obviously. We've already got that answer in from Dakota. Who do you take if you are Carolina? Who do you take with the number 1 overall pick? Text us 225-9698. And if you want to give us your top 5, we're going to, at the end of the last segment, give me what your mock draft, your mock top 5 is. You can run trades through there if you want to. Everybody can do that as well. Give me your top 5 of your own mock draft. Who's going number 1? We'll talk about that as well. Who would you take if you were number 1? The draft always gets weird, right? We either with just a ridiculous pick or a trade. Where's that going to happen? Where everybody's mock draft just gets blown up. At what pick? Who's going to do that? I have an odds question, Jared. Is there a better chance that the trades work out and the picks work to where I've seen a couple of mock drafts like this, that's why I ask. All 4 of the top quarterbacks go 1 through 4. Is there a better chance of that happening tonight? Or a better chance that 2 running backs get drafted in the first round? What will the Dallas Cowboys do? And then give me something off the wall. Off the wall tonight. A prediction that is just like crazy. That might happen. Got some spring sports updates, slow pitch and baseball schedules, some changes due to the weather. Of course, we'll be on the air today, 1 o'clock from Ackley Park with Big Elk Baseball. We'll tell you all about that. And then the NBA playoffs. Craziness abounds in the NBA playoffs. 225-9698 is the phone or the text line. That is 225-9698. Give us a call, shoot us a text. See if everybody can continue to quote draft day because that's what we're getting. It's great. I love it. 225-9698. If you're going to be outside that listening area, stay in touch with the show. Log on to kadsam.com. Download the app. The app's got it all. It's got radio. It's got the Penny News. Brand new edition of the Penny News is out there right now at your favorite local newsstand. Go pick up a free copy of that Penny News. Big Elk TV on the air today, 1 o'clock. Probably a short little pregame, maybe 10 minutes before or so. For the Elks and Dixon on the baseball field here at Charlie Joy Field inside Ackley Park. We'll have that live on Big Elk TV today. And then, of course, the Skinny on Sports podcast. If you missed the show in Tyler, you can go back and find each and every edition wherever you find podcasts, it's there. I can promise you. Jared, I ask you again today, as I did yesterday, did you eat pancakes for breakfast?
No, but when we wake up our kids, we give them the option, do you want to eat breakfast at school or eat it at home? It usually means if you eat at home, you need to get up immediately so we can feed you. And James She knew exactly what they're having for breakfast. It wasn't pancakes, but it was waffles.
Even better.
But I thought, oh man, if that was pancakes, it would have been perfect. I would have just laughed for no reason.
It kind of stinks that one of the most quotable lines of draft day we can't say on the air.
Oh, I know.
What was his name? Tom?
Tom, yeah.
Sonny Weaver and Sonny Weaver Jr. and Tom.
Sonny read him like a book. He knew exactly what he was thinking. Knew his ego would steer him to make those decisions because he was so afraid what the fan base would think
The
about
fans were at the gates with their pitchforks when it was time to make a move.
You know Sonny never looked at the blogs, the fan blogs. He already knew what Tom was thinking. Yeah.
Tom thought he was sly at first.
Yeah. Good movie.
It was.
Good movie. Good flick.
No matter how unrealistic it was for all that to go down, who cares? It was great.
It was cool because not often does the NFL lend out their brand.
Right.
You know, there's been plenty of pro football movies, but they're like fake team, like The Replacements. Remember that movie with Keanu Reeves? Fun movie. Gene Hackman was the coach. Keanu Reeves, what was his name? Something Falcon or something like that.
Shane Falco.
Shane Falco, thank you.
Yes.
But it was some weird,
Yeah, like what was the movie with Jamie Foxx? And Al
Any
Pacino.
Given Sunday.
Yeah, there wasn't, it was the
Yeah,
Los Angeles
Oliver
Sharks
Stone.
or something.
Yeah, but people still say that is the most realistic version or take on pro football.
You mean the one with Damon Wayans back in the day? What was that one called?
I don't
with
know.
Billy Cole?
Can't
Wasn't
recall.
that the guy that just shot somebody on the field?
I don't think that was realistic, but I can't. I don't remember that
the
one.
Boy Scout.
Oh, the Boy Scout.
The Last Boy Scout or something like that.
I
remember that one?
Yeah. Don't think that was
wasn't
very
realistic.
Don't think so. But draft day was cool because you knew, even Roger was in it.
Yeah.
And the ESPN guys and the NFL Network guys. And so it's amazing how those guys can really act. I really believed them, too, when they were shocked. A trade was made. Whoa. Who's on the clock? Whoa. Yeah, good movie.
Yeah, it was
Now,
fun.
I wonder if it won't be that fun tonight, but
Who knows?
There might be some drama. There might be.
I think there will be. I think there's
still a lot
enough
of questions.
things up in the air.
I mean, because we're asking this question just tells me that there is no surefire guy going at number one, right?
I think there is.
You think there is?
Yeah, I think
Either-
number one is solidified.
Without a doubt.
Did you see the story this week where the betting odds for Will Levis plummeted because of some Reddit post that was apparently from him to a family member saying that the Carolina Panthers had told him he was going to be the number one pick? Did you see this? His odds went from like 4,000 to 1 to 400 to 1, like in the blink of an eye, because of some Reddit post that was supposedly him telling his family, "Hey,
Bullcorn.
I just heard from the Carolina Panthers I'm going number one overall."
Bullcorn. I don't believe it.
Recently though, and we might see this between now and the first pick. A lot of time recently here, that first pick was you already knew it because the contract negotiations have already started.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing. At least there's suspense unless it's just broken. But at least there is some suspense right now as to whether or not Carolina will take Bryce Young or not.
You know what I always found funny is the number one pick. And they'll go, okay, welcome to the NFL draft. Having a good time tonight. We got to start, they do the whole intro thing, and then they'll go, and the Carolina Panthers are on the clock. Well, they've been on the clock since they knew they had the number one pick months ago, right? So why would that clock even run?
Because I think they have to do their due diligence, hoping against hope that phone rings and somebody just blows their socks off with a deal.
With the trade with an offer. So you think they sit on it waiting for that phone to ring?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, Drew's right. Now that the rookie scale is kind of set, you don't hear for sure who that's going to be. You know, I think that
Right.
when you think back to like Baker getting picked number 1,
Uh-huh.
I think that one was still up in the air. People thought maybe, but it wasn't a sure thing.
No, I didn't think that was a sure thing, no. Heard rumblings. You know, and
You know,
then-
Trevor Lawrence was a different story. Everybody and their dog knew that it was going to be him
yeah.
as the number 1 overall pick. I think last year, as the starting a couple of days before the draft, and then by the time we got to draft day, Trayvon Walker kind of came out of nowhere as far as the number 1 overall pick. But you had a pretty decent idea that it was him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like Drew said, Bradford was in contract negotiations a week before the draft even started. Yeah, everybody knew that's who it was going to be
Right.
when Sammy B came out. So there is still some suspense. Also some suspense. We'll get to the draft. That's all we're going to talk about basically after this first segment. So spring sports playoffs, slow pitch regionals, small school baseball regionals. We've got some bi-district and district baseball games in the bigger classes. Obviously, with what happened with the weather, you could expect some changes to schedules, and that's exactly what has happened, at least for a few places. I'm sure there's more. If you know them, tell us. That way we can get it out there. The one place where nothing has changed is right here in Elk City with the baseball. The bi-district against Dixon, 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock are the start times. Big Elk TV will be there, live video streaming. Shout out to the Williamson family at Gas, helping that happen, and all the other sponsors, but they were a big one to get that off the ground. So Elk City baseball versus Dixon, 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock. This afternoon, winner will go to regionals. If it's the Elks, they will host that regional here again next week. Canute baseball, texted with Coach Varnell earlier.
To get that, yeah.
Yeah, it's been moved back to 2 o'clock. So the first game, I think originally scheduled for 11, back to 2. The games will be 2, 4, 6, and 8 over there at that regional at Canute. So 2 o'clock start for the baseball. The softball, it's going to be here because, the baseball probably would be here if Elk City wasn't playing. But because there's no softball being played, Canute times are exactly the same. Teams, the schedule, it's all the same except for the location. It'll be here on the turf at the Fiveplex at Elk City. So Canute's regional, that slow pitch regional, will be played right here at Elk City. Leedy's hosting a slow pitch regional. Those start times have been pushed back to 3 o'clock. And then also Hammond has a slow pitch regional. Those start times, at least for right now, are pushed back to 2 o'clock. So some changes to the schedule with the slow pitch and the small school baseballs. Any of those things, I mean, we'll get it out there. If you know of more, just text us 225-9698, and we will get that information out there. Jared, on a scale of 1 to 10, how surprised are you that after 5 games, the team that won the most regular season games in the NBA and was the 1 seed, had the home court advantage throughout the playoffs, the Milwaukee Bucks, are out?
Scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most surprised. I would go around a 7.5 because of kind of what I said yesterday. The parity was a little bit more in play this year. Yes, they won the most games, but they were good. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. But there was and then Miami, they just kind of floated around, but we knew they could be good this year. We had it. In preseason, we kind of felt like they could be one of the contenders in the East. Did we not?
Jim picked them to go to the finals.
Right. So maybe that's why I'm not as shocked, but I am. I up it to about 7.5 because of how many games it took. If the 8 was going to be to 1, you'd think that happened in a game 7 overtime.
Like a shocking.
Yeah, but the way they just kind of they handled a 1 seed like a 1 seed should be handling an 8 seed. But and then you got your superstar Giannis on that team. So about 7.5. How about you?
He missed a couple of games, Giannis did, which didn't help. But you got to give it up to, have you seen this yet? Hemi Butler?
No.
It's not Jimmy because he is him.
Oh, that's funny.
Hemi Butler.
That's his pronouns.
56 in game 4. And then last night, 42. He passes Dwayne Wade with his 8th 40-point postseason game with the Miami Heat. The Heat trailed by 16 going into the fourth quarter, outscored the Bucks 32-16 to get it into overtime. Jimmy Butler hit that fall away alley-oop shot to force overtime. That 16-point win or comeback, it's the largest fourth quarter comeback in a series-clinching win in NBA history, which is pretty amazing. I'm floored. A big part of it is because it just didn't seem like Miami had it together this year. But, man, then you get in the playoffs, Butler is just a different dude, man. You think
right.
there was actually conversations about, going into the playoffs when they were in the play-in tournament, how big a deal it is going to be paying him in 2 years like $56 million at 36 years old or whatever, and how his play just hadn't been that good. And then the brightest lights shine, and here comes Jimmy Butler, and he's just amazing the way he's just one of those guys that can just turn it up and turn it on when it has to happen.
Well, I mean, this is kind of how I assess Golden State throughout this season, is that they're just kind of coasting, and they're going to turn on the playoffs. And it appears that they've kind of done that. I was a little worried there when they went down 0-2, but they've turned around. They've taken a series lead. Maybe the same thing can be said about Miami. Maybe they're just kind of, okay, let's just get the playoffs and let's just, we talk about load management. I don't know if there's a lot of that going on. It happens everywhere. But part of that, kind of like a mental load management where they just kind of, 75% mental, just kind of going through the motions throughout the season, gets wins when you need to get them to put yourself in a position to get into the postseason, and then they really turn it on. Maybe that's what Jimmy Butler's doing.
Yeah, and you always kind of wondered with Miami. They were in the finals a couple years ago, but it was the what's it called? The bubble finals.
The bubble.
So was that the bubble, or was that them being great? This series they were great. Also the Knicks. How about the Knicks? You realize that's just their second playoff series win since 2001.
Very. I think I've known that. Yeah.
First since 2013, just the second since 2001. They handled Cleveland. I think, boy, if you're a Cleveland fan, a guy that everybody loved the last year and a half, but now seeing him in the playoffs, I would be a little concerned about Evan Mobley. Charmin soft, bro. The Knicks just bullied Cleveland. They were just tougher. And so now you got Knicks Heat. That used to be one of those in the 90s where the scores would be about 78-75. Remember the classic video of a fight breaking out and Van Gundy nipping at somebody's heels, like a little puppy dog? So a flashback series there with number 8 and number 4. So now the Knicks have the Garden. They've got home court advantage in that series, shockingly enough. Nobody really saw that coming.
Man, Knicks basketball in the Garden, second round. That city has been waiting for Knicks basketball to be good for a very long time.
No doubt.
Very long, like back to the Ewing days. Long time.
It'll have, as they say in New York, the Garden will have some juice to it.
Yeah.
When they get those second round games, the Eastern Conference semis.
It's gonna be listen, let's face it, like them or not, the NBA is better when the Lakers are good and the Knicks are good. And when the Knicks are, making deep playoff runs, you're going to see everybody that's somebody courtside. And, Spike Lee's going to look around and go, where have you guys been all season long?
Spike was in the house last night giving it to the Cleveland fans.
I'm sure he was.
So that's good stuff. And then speaking of love him or hate him, I know everybody hates this dude, but dang, was Draymond Green awesome last night off the bench for the Golden State Warriors. Third straight win in the series for Golden State. Draymond with 21, 7 assists, 4 steals, blocked a shot, grabbed 4 rebounds. Just felt like, after that suspension, he voluntarily told Steve Kerr, after watching the team play in Game 3, he said, listen, let me come off the bench. Those guys played great with that starting lineup without me in it in Game 3. Let me come off the bench. I don't want to mess with that chemistry that they had. It goes against everything we think about Draymond Green.
Well, maybe he had a wake-up call.
But he is a huge, selfless dude 95% of the time on the floor. He's willing to do the dirty work. He's not some prima donna that needs the ball all the time. He'll do whatever it takes to win. There's just that 5% of the time when he loses his mind and becomes selfish. But for the most part, that guy, his game gets a bad rap because of his antics, if that makes sense. Last night he was awesome. And a huge part of why Golden State now leads 3-2 going back home. Golden State has an NBA record streak going. Do you know what it is? And it was extended last night.
Oh, I could only imagine. What is it?
That is the 28th straight series in which the Golden State Warriors have won a road game.
Which is crazy considering their road woes.
That was only their 12th win of the season on the road.
Isn't that crazy?
12-32 now, including the playoffs, but they get the one they had to have. They were going to have to win in Sacramento to win the series, and they got it last night. You had De'Aaron Fox playing. Man, he got off to a really good start. I don't know if maybe whatever they shot that finger up wore off, but the shooting, he made his first 3 threes, missed his last 7, ends up only 9 of 25 for 24 points. It feels like the champs crushed David last night. Goliath crushed David.
Right.
Is what it felt like to me. It's cute.
The worst part of this whole series was Sabonis overreacting to the stomp on his chest, and maybe that was the turning point.
Could be.
Right.
So you've got what's left. Sacramento, Golden State still going. The Lakers lost last night in Memphis, so that goes back to
Speaking
LA.
of love or hate, I mean, John Morant was good last night, too.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. So it's back to LA for Game 6 with the Lakers' chance to move on. Then tonight, Atlanta, after that Trae Young shot the other night, they're back at home trying to force a Game 7 against Boston. That one will be the only show in town on the NBA hardwood tonight. Also, a couple of updates. Weatherford's by district tomorrow. Those times have been moved to 3:20 and 5:30. And then also Hollis baseball over in Tushka. They've been moved back to a 2:30 start. I think that's an hour back from what it was originally scheduled at 1:30. So Hollis baseball is back an hour there in Tushka. If you know of any more of those, just fire them at us. We'll continue to repeat them.
Yeah.
If you didn't know, Canute baseball pushed back to 2. Leedy softball pushed back to 3. Hammond softball pushed back to 2. Canute softball will be here in Elk City on the turf. Same scheduled times, just a different place. Hey, do you have a senior going to graduate here in a couple of weeks? 96.5 KECO is hosting the 2023 Senior Photo Showcase for the area's high school seniors. Here's how you do it. Just submit their best senior photo to the online photo gallery at kecofm.com. That's all you have to do. You can showcase your your seniors' photos. Friends and family then can go vote for their favorite photo, and guess what? The winner is whoever receives the most votes, and that winner will receive a dinner at Simon's Catch. We're talking ribeye, we're talking brownie pie, we're talking whatever. Or if you'd rather have the catfish, feel free for that too.
Or, I've seen some of these pictures. If you're my niece, you can give that dinner to your favorite uncle.
Wait, that's also a consideration.
I may have voted more than once.
Well, it's anonymous, Jared. Nobody knows.
I think everybody knows now.
That's the KECO 2023 Senior Showcase. Also coming up Friday night out at the Elk City Motorsports Park, another night of great race. Super fast and exciting dirt dog sprint cars in the Sooner Limited Modified Series. Going at it at Elk City Motorsports Park. Factory stock plus the Enduros versus the Tuners special event. Battling it out on a 3/8 mile semi-banked dirt track that's built for speed. Located 1 mile south of Hutch's west side on Merritt Road and a quarter mile back to the west. There will be concessions. It's fun for the whole family. Come on and get sideways. Saturday night, gates open at 5. Races start at 7. Find out more on the Elk City Motorsports Park Facebook page. Don't miss the races this Saturday night, presented by KECO. Okay, Jared. Draft night. It is draft night. As I said at the first of the show, Billy has senior moments. Can he send in a photo?
Sure, and he'll just forget about it. 'Cause
Yeah, you forget your one and won't go out to Simons, Billy. It's not doing anybody any good. If you are the Carolina Panthers, you have the number 1 overall pick. First off, who do you think's going 1?
Well, I think it is going to be Bryce Young, but I don't think like we've said in the past, it's not a 100% slam dunk. There could be some shakeup. I mean, we got a long day ahead of us, so there could be some talks in the works, and But I think Carolina goes with Bryce Young. Next year's going to be boring because we know who's going to be the number 1 pick.
Yeah, that's a topic I want to talk about here when it gets weird. But I think he is going to go number 1. I wouldn't. If it was me and I'm Carolina,
I'm with you.
I'd take C.J. Stroud.
I'm absolutely with you.
Dakota, same way.
The size concerns me.
I cannot get out of it, and I've said this numerous times when we've talked about this topic. I cannot get out of my head, and I get it. Bryce Young played in the SEC, and he was phenomenal, and the size thing is what it is. But you always see, like right here at the end, for some reason, and I think it's because a team wants C.J. Stroud, so they float something out there like about the cognitive ability test that apparently he wasn't very good at. Didn't wake up for the Manning passing academy, whatever. You start seeing these negative things about some of these guys. I think a lot of times it's a team that really likes him putting it out there to hope he falls to him.
I can see that.
And does it not always seem like the guy that falls, outside of Brady Quinn, the guy that falls normally ends up very good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's something. You have to be I couldn't be a guy like this on a day like today or even leading up to it, because I admittedly am, when it comes to what people think about me, I am weak. I am not mentally strong, and they hear everything said about them. He's good here, but he's the bad here. He's a good test taker, but he doesn't do this right. Just breaking a guy down and then putting it back together to try to make – I couldn't handle it. So could you imagine? Just –
You just have to not care and know what you're all about.
He showed up out of shape. He can't run very fast. Just all those little things. We thought he'd weigh this, but he was this.
I think what gets you by is the fact that you're about to be a multi-millionaire.
That's true.
I would take C.J. Stroud almost solely based on the Georgia game. Just to watch him pick that defense apart was awesome. He was just awesome that night. It feels like he can. He just that night felt like the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, and on that note, in a loss, mind you, but he did really cool things. The Bryce Young game that I really watched was one everybody watched was Tennessee, and there were times where I thought Tennessee was just going to run away with it, and Bryce Young kept him there. Gave him a chance to win.
He did it. I think his year last year, in a lot of ways, for Bryce Young, was more impressive than the year before, winning the Heisman and getting to the finals, because it felt like last year he didn't have the same amount of weapons around him. It was more on his shoulders and him doing things. Does that make sense? Last year than it was the year before, with the team that made it all the way to the national title game. You've given your secrets out, Jared.
What's that?
Somebody's using your I'm not sure what the word of that is. Going to use it against you in summer softball. Maybe pick on you in particular and get you riled up.
I'm not batting. I'm not
Maybe
pitching.
it makes you
fielding.
It makes you make somebody go to second that shouldn't. I'll show them and get somebody thrown out about 10 feet.
Maybe I should just sit on the bench. I don't know.
It's already working. All right, where is the draft going to go haywire?
After the first trade, whenever that happens, but it could happen. I think we've seen a lot of scenarios where it'll happen in the top 10 somewhere, right? So that will shake up a lot, because if somebody's going to move up, take a guy that's on everybody's, best board, and they go and they take that guy, then you're going to see a lot of scrambling, I think. But I don't know when that'll happen. When do we think a trade could happen?
Everybody's mock draft is targeting that Arizona pick at 3. Both Kiper and McShay had Tennessee moving up from 11 to 3 in order to take C.J. Stroud because they don't believe Houston's taking a quarterback. I don't believe Houston's taking a quarterback either. You know what I think Houston's about to do? Something that I don't know that we've actually seen tried in the NFL. I think they're literally going to try to tank.
Really?
I do. I think Houston is going to try to tank for Caleb Williams and therefore not take a quarterback at 2. I don't think they're going to trade out of it, though. I think the first curveball comes with the number 2 pick, and it's a name that if you'd have said this 10 months ago before the college football season started, everybody would have went, who? And he played right here in the Big 12. I think they're going to take Tyree Wilson of Tech.
Tech.
I do. I think this is a little bit of a Javon Walker / last year versus Aiden Hutchinson. The more promise over the guaranteed guy, if that makes sense. And so I think I think Tyree Wilson has a little bit more flash than Will Anderson, a little bit more athletic, longer, and that kind of thing.
Kind of a safe pick.
Potential. I think
it's not going to make you better immediately, but it's not going to make you any worse. And it's easy. Yeah, I mean Houston's not good right now. They're not.
That's
good,
right.
And this isn't going to make them better, but it's a good insurance pick. I don't know.
Just not a quarterback.
No.
That might be able to make you better. And that way, I think they're really, I truly think they're going to try to tank this season.
Well, in this mock
get
draft,
Caleb
does
Williams.
Will Anderson fall in that mold?
Yeah, I just think I think Houston prefers Wilson because of a little higher ceiling. I think his floor is way lower. Will Anderson's going to be a good player. I think everyone knows that. I just don't know how high end he's going to be.
Well, if you're Houston and you are truly wanting the number 1 pick next year, why not just trade down? Build equity.
That's true. You could, but
you
then
could probably still land Wilson.
It depends on where you go. If you get down to 11, you're not going to,
No.
more than likely. But I just think I think that's who they're going to take. And then trade at 3 is very, very possible if somebody loves Stroud.
So who would you think goes to 3?
We've seen Tennessee.
Who needs?
Seen Arizona or Atlanta. I think at that point, early on, you kind of saw Indy trying to get to 2. But if it goes that way, there's no sense. I think they'll be okay. Worst case scenario, if they want Levis, somebody trades ahead of them to get him. You're left with Stroud. I think that's a good kind of backup plan at quarterback and probably get the better player. But 3 is, Arizona can do a lot of things.
Yeah.
Bolster defense. They clearly don't need a quarterback. They paid theirs $200 million. And so I think that pick could hinge a lot of things right there. If they go ahead and take Anderson, then a lot of these mock drafts might be kind of safe to look pretty decent. If something off the wall happens, then it gets destroyed. Drew brought up an interesting question on the text line. If you're Carolina and you're convinced you're going to go quarterback, why not just trade for Lamar? Is Lamar Jackson better than the potential of any of these guys in this draft?
How old is he?
What is he, 27?
I mean, he is a former MVP. That's a great
26.
question. That's a great question. I'm with Dakota on the text line. I don't think I'd pull the trigger on that one. What would you do?
Seems like a lot.
To give up a 1?
The number 1 overall pick,
to get Lamar and
seems like a lot, and then have to pay him.
got to pay him.
But at the same time, I understand Drew's point because I don't know that Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, any of these guys are ever going to be as good as Lamar is right now.
I will never know until we actually see it. There's no way of knowing.
So from that standpoint, you would entertain that idea. You're already getting a better player than you can draft. That makes sense if you think about it that way. All right, here's the question. With the possibility of Houston trading out, possibility of Arizona trading out, Indy's there and gonna take a quarterback. Is there a better chance that the trades work around here tonight and the top 4 quarterbacks go 1 through 4, or is there a better chance that 2 running backs get drafted in the first round?
I will say the first. I'll say the top quarterbacks get taken 1 through 4. Because outside of Bijan Robinson, I can't think of the second best running back right now.
Jamar Gibbs, Alabama.
Hard for me to see 2 running backs being taken in the first round. I'm standing put on my assessment of running backs in first round. It hasn't worked out as of late in the last decade or so. So hard for me to see 2 running backs going in the first round. See one.
I'm going to go with the running back one, and here's why. If the quarterback crop this year and next year was a little bit different, here's why I don't think all 4 quarterbacks are going to go first. I think some of these teams that need one are content with maybe not being very good again, trying to get those others for next year with Williams or Drake May from North Carolina. And I think that keeps people from making the move, 2 teams at least, from making the move to get there. I think we might see one of either Houston or Arizona trade out, somebody come up to get one of to make it 3 out of 4. But I just don't think we're going to see 4 out of 4 because of what's on the horizon next year and the overall thought about what this quarterback draft class really is. So therefore, almost by default, I'm going to go with the second one with 2 running backs. You're starting to see Gibbs kind of creep up there in the bottom. This one has him going to Cincinnati, which makes sense. P. Ryan's gone. Mm-hmm. I don't think they're going to re-sign Mixon for the money that he's going to want. So that's kind of a plug-and-play type guy right there. I think there's always a chance that Philly, if they don't take Bijan at 10, could be a spot there at 30 with their pick, that they maybe try to solidify that with Jamar Gibbs. A lot of people think he's better suited for the NFL with his skill set, even though he's not, as highly rated. So I'm going to go that way just because, and it's more of a reflection on the quarterbacks than, oh, man, both those running backs are good, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Who are the Cowboys going to take? Where are they looking? What are they going to do?
Well, if he's there, they're taking Robinson. I don't think he'll be there. I've thought more and more about it. I think he'll go higher than 26. These 2 mocks, you're looking at the same ones, and I like this, is a tight end. I don't know who. But a tight end would be a nice get, a nice playmaker tight end that can, there's about 2 or 3 of them in this draft that can do it all. Run, pass block, run block, catch. So I would be okay with either whoever they get. But I think tight end. I'm just giving you a broad answer here. What do you think?
I think if one of those guys is there, I think there's 2 guys. Drew he texted me, I think there's 2 guys that are absolute guarantee, slam dunk. The Cowboys will waste 10 seconds getting the card in if they're there. Bijan and Jackson Smith and Jigba. A lot of the Dallas guys, if you read their, that are closer to it, mm-hmm. They both believe that those are 2 guys that Dallas would dearly love to fall to them. If it's not, then I think you start looking at tight ends. Kincaid and Michael Mayer from Notre Dame. If both of those guys are gone, do you look at a receiver? This has Jordan Addison, the pick before going to the Giants. Zay Flowers is a guy that's been around in that area. Or do you start looking somewhere else? Bolster the offensive line. Edge rusher, you can never have too many of those. Or, trade down and get more picks. I brought this name up to Drew last night. What about Darnell Washington? Speaking of tight ends, if those top two, everybody's top two aren't there, what about the massive tight end out of Georgia, Darnell Washington? It's like 6'7", 260. Seems to be able to do everything. I'm kind of surprised. There's got to be a knock on him, or he would be a little bit higher.
One name I'm seeing is Luke Musgrave from Oregon State.
Yeah, I saw that one too. That does not excite me.
Yeah, it doesn't really do anything for me either. If
I'd
I'm
rather
picking
have
a tight
Washington.
end from – in schools schools matter. Conferences matter. If I'm picking a tight end, if I have my choice between a tight end from the SEC or from the Pac-12, from Georgia or from Oregon State, I might be leaning a little bit the Bulldogs' way.
Yeah, you just wish it was the one coming out next year with Brock Bowers.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that we're going to talk about all these guys and these fun guys. Drew Sanders is another one from Arkansas, the linebacker. Kind of can play a lot of different places. And then I have a feeling what's going to happen is the people they want to take aren't going to be there. We end up with like a guard, Avila from TCU, somebody like that. Maybe even Anton Harrison could be a possibility. And now you see this morning Cam Robinson faced in a huge suspension at Jacksonville for performance-enhancing drugs, and now Anton Harrison has crept into that spot. There at Jacksonville. So I think it's going to be interesting what the Cowboys, what's available to them, and then how they want to, which way they want to go. But I think they would love for it. Mel has Dalton Kincaid. I mean, I think they would sprint.
Yeah.
To make that pick. Mayer as well. Then after that, I don't know. Jared.
Yo.
Sad news in the world of entertainment.
Yeah.
We're never going to hear this again. Jerry Springer has passed on at the age of 79. TMZ has confirmed.
Darn.
It was a cultural phenomenon
Yes, he
when we
was.
were in like junior high.
Yes, he was. That was like a guilty pleasure show. You just love to watch that train wreck each and every day.
Knew it was coming.
Yeah.
So Jerry has passed on to speak through the microphone in the sky. Actually, for him, he may not go that. He may go down because of the show he performed out there.
Wasn't he a mayor of Cincinnati or Cleveland or something at one point?
I think that's a possibility.
Yeah. He had, I think, a show like Judge Jerry, but I never saw it. Well, rest in peace, Jerry Springer.
Jerry Springer has moved on at the age of 79 years old. All right, we got a couple of takers asking for the top 5 mocks. Dakota goes Bryce Young, Will Anderson, Tyree Wilson, C.J. Stroud at 4, Devin Witherspoon at 5. Corner, Illinois. Drew has Bryce Young, Will Anderson, Atlanta trading up with Arizona to take C.J. Stroud, Will Levis at 4, Georgia's Jalen Carter at 5. What say you, Jared Atha?
I'll go Bryce Young, Will Anderson Jr., C.J. Stroud, Will Levis, and Jalen Carter.
So you've got a trade at 3. Who's coming? With Arizona.
What do you mean who's coming?
Arizona's not taking C.J. Stroud at 3,
Right.
so who's trading with Arizona?
I think I like what I think it's was it McShay? Whose mock was it? I like Tennessee. I think Tennessee.
They both had it.
Did they both have it?
They both had
Okay.
Tennessee trading up
Yeah.
to get C.J. Stroud.
I think he's too good of a player just to not take a chance to get him. And Arizona clearly doesn't need him. So that's what I got. How about you?
That all makes a lot of sense. It all does. I tell you what, I have just changed it right here on the fly. I am going to say Bryce Young goes 1. I've got Tyree Wilson 2 with Houston. That third pick, for multiple reasons. 1, need a quarterback. 2, we just saw that they're not going to pick up the 5th-year option on Bryce Young and new ownership wanting to make a splash, I think the Commanders may come up
Interesting.
to that third pick. Maybe they give is Chase Young and the 16 enough to get to number 3 to Arizona? Is that enough? Maybe. I'm going to go with that. And then they'll take C.J. Stroud at 3, Will Levis to Indy at 4, Jalen Carter to Seattle at 5. At the end of the night, who do the Dallas Cowboys have? Who is their newest player at the end of the night?
Oh, boy. There's so many possibilities. And based on who's available. Lord. It's not going to be Robinson. And I'll openly admit, I was kind of hoping that would be a possibility. Never thought I would want a Longhorn. I'm going to go with the tight end areas. You know what? Okay, no. Let's say Addison. I think that's a need we're failing to realize is that somebody opposite of CeeDee Lamb. And I don't think there's going to be enough, or Robinson won't be there. I'm not convinced any tight ends will be available. The ones that they want, like you said, go running up the card for. So let's say Addison, maybe Jordan Addison from Pitt.
I'm going to say nobody.
You think they trade out?
I think nobody. I think they trade down.
Trade out of the first round?
Because I don't think they're going to have what they want. Trade back, get some extra draft capital, and maybe trade back to a place where you can still grab Darnell Washington, one of what's the Iowa tight end. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. It just completely went blank. Or somebody else that makes more sense, a little bit lower. Maybe you can trade back and still get Drew Sanders. Dakota wants Zay Flowers for his Kansas City Chiefs. I'd seen Marvin Mims in the last pick of the second round be in a spot for Kansas City.
I've seen that too.
When you see those 2 or 3 round mock drafts. Will there be a Sooner taken tonight?
No.
I'm going to say yes. I think Anton Harrison slips in there.
Do you?
I do.
That'd be good.
And if he doesn't, he will not have to sit long tomorrow.
No.
Because he will be the first pick of the second round. I think the Steelers will gobble him right up.
Yeah.
And they might do it tonight at the first round, depending on how the board falls. If teams have discipline and don't necessarily jump up to take quarterbacks, maybe the Steelers have to pull that trigger. Maybe they can trade down, Yeah, Jones family and common sense don't go together. That's exactly right.
Well, they've had a lot of common sense in this offseason.
They
stuff
honestly
that they've done.
You know when everything changed for Dallas Cowboys in drafting? It changed in 2000. What is it? The 2013 draft, 2014 draft. I'm trying to think. The season was 13, so the 14 draft when they took Zach Martin instead of Johnny Manziel.
Yeah,
that's when everything changed.
Well, they've drafted well.
They have drafted very well,
they just
they've drafted well at the top. They're starting to hit on more of the lower type guys too. But I get it.
They really have.
That's also an easy thing to say. I mean,
they're easy targets.
Yeah, it's not necessarily the drafting that's gone bad. It's the re-signing that hasn't worked.
That's what I was about to say. The re-signing and the overpaying. That's been the problem.
And having too much pride in your drafting and too much value
Keep trying to tell
in
yourself,
the guys.
I was right when I drafted him.
That's
this is why I'm paying him.
exactly
I
right.
was right. I'm right.
That has been more of a problem
Yep.
for sure with the Jerry Jones regime lately especially.
But I have found myself after the last 2 or 3 drafts of whoever Dallas takes, I go, okay, we'll see. They've been right. They've hit more than missed lately. So I'm going to trust Jerry and family here. So we'll see what happens tonight and see if I get that same reaction.
All right. You You can hear it right here. Also, don't forget 1 o'clock, Big Elk TV. Big Elk Baseball tries to, they will begin what they hope is a run to the first state title in program history. It all starts today, 1 o'clock, Dixon in town, the Comets and the Elks. 1 o'clock, BigElkTV.com. Everybody have a wonderful Thursday. We'll be back to discuss it all tomorrow.
You've been listening to the Skinny on Sports podcast with Aaron Cow. Be sure to hit that subscribe button to get alerts of when the latest podcast is available. Thanks for listening.
That ball is blistered to right. Way